You know what I remember about Colonel the most? He used to always rub his eyes like this. And I still see him that way. You know, very sweet man, gentle and kind.
He loved M&Ms, peanut M&Ms. So he had a jar in his office, and he always grabbed a handful, and he always would munch on it.
He would say things like, "Darren, I'm going to go to the bathroom." I'm like, "Okay, Colonel," and he'd say, "I'll be back in about 7 to 9 minutes." And I'd be like, "Okay, we'll see when you get back." You know, so it wasn't about 10 minutes. I'll be back in a little while. It was, I'll be back in 7 to 9 minutes. You know.
We had a little shake-up in the faculty. Some classes had to be reassigned, so he took 9th grade Bible, and it seemed to involve a lot of eating pizza up in his office. And I would see groups of students sitting around campus studying the Bible. And I asked him, how do you get them to work so hard memorizing Bible verses? He said, oh, the secret is you just always make your tests hard enough that everyone needs some extra credit.
You know, he was not just a president. You never knew he was a president because he never acted like a president. Whatever was needed around the campus, he would dirty his hands to do it, whether it's a bathroom or anything. And so that's the kind of person he was, a very caring person. And he would really, literally, he would take off his shirt and just to give it to someone. That's the kind of person he really was. Also, he had the keenest mind. He was a very brilliant in all that he did, very, very sharp.
At the elementary school, I was hired to be the principal of the Nehowa campus. And at Nehowa campus, it was a small campus, a small building. There's hardly any playground. I had only teachers from K to 6, and the teachers were also PE teachers and art teachers and music teachers. And we are a small school. There's hardly any class that is full, you know. Like in kindergarten, there was a time there were only 7 students in kindergarten. Then maybe in grade 1, maybe about 19 or 18. So each class, they were not full.
Well, the buildings were terrible. As you probably heard, they were riddled with termites. It was small, it was noisy. We knew everybody. Spent a lot of time with the kids.
We had 450 students in grades K to 12, and now we have over 1,000 students in K to 12. So definitely the enrollment.
Right, the classes were smaller. Like I graduated with a class of 45 students.
And my class was 23.
Yeah, so everybody kind of knew everyone at the school because we were so small. Yeah, like I knew Mrs. Lee even if she was 3 years older than me.
His legacy really is keeping the school. In 1970, when our state Southern Baptist Convention decided to close the school, he was very vocal in expressing himself about a school like that was needed in Hawaii. And he gave up by retiring from the Air Force and really worked for several years without pay at HBA to make sure that HBA would be the school it is today.
One of the first things he did was to establish a basis of support. We had no endowment. The summer after he joined us, Baptists all over the world were having a big meeting in Japan. So he would take the bus out to the airport and load it up with tourists, Baptist tourists, bring them up to school. The school was really in a mess that summer. Nobody had mowed the lawn for a long time, and Miss Okazaki's little brother was out there pushing the lawnmower in the heat. Some of us were trying to refurbish the library. So when it was time for him to come back to campus, we'd hastily go change out of our grubbies, put on clean aloha wear, serve punch and cookies, show the tourists around, they get back on the bus. But a number of them caught the vision and became a donor base that is now the MAC.
I think more than that, I think he'll be remembered as, he's just known as the Colonel. You know, he's just known as the person who gave the school that jumpstart financially, but also was instrumental in kind of building a base of support and kind of further developing the reputation of the school as being a mission school and also being a fine academic school. So.
He knew that we could be an excellent school, but without Christ, we would just be another school.
I think the greatest legacy was that if there was a vision and if God's hand was in that vision, it didn't matter how hard or how impossible things looked, that if we worked hard and we believed that God would help us through difficult times, we would always get through it. And I think his legacy has been that in the toughest times, God has been so faithful and has provided such wonderful facilities and carried on the school. And I believe that that's going to continue in the future if we continue to hold true to our mission and believe in God's faithfulness and work hard. Yeah.
Colonel Sagert, throughout the 16 years that he was my boss, every time we met, we always prayed. Every time he dropped me off at the elementary school, we prayed. Every time he came to the elementary school and Nanakuli and Leeward, or Nanakuli or Leeward or the community church, we prayed. He was a prayerful man. And he always told us that no matter what, God is in control. God will help us. And he wanted HBA to be a godly school, a Christian school. So he told me, Ruby, if there's anything, make the elementary school or our school, make Jesus as the center of our school. So to me, that is so profound, so beautiful.